On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumnus, Dr. Kevin Newman, to address Convocation.
Well, that is going to take some getting used to. Thank you, Dean Carmichael, Chancellor Thompson, Mr. Vice Chancellor and President, members of the university community, my family, your friends, and especially on this day, fellow graduates of the University of Western Ontario. I am sincerely humbled that the Senate has bestowed this honor upon me, and I thank all of you for allowing me to share this incredible morning in your lives with you. You know, believe it or not, it was precisely 30 years ago that I sat where all of you are today. And I remember this moment very clearly. I remember it sneaked up on me. Everything I had done for as long as I could remember was aimed at this, the day my formal education ended. And yet it still surprised me when it was over. In an instant, the rhythm of my life changed forever. September no longer meant reunions, deadlines became a permanent part of my daily life, commitment and responsibility grew. I never imagined that the last time I was in Alumni Hall that 30 years could feel like yesterday. As some of our graduates here will know, in journalism of the not-too-distant past, that nice round number, 30, had great meaning. It's what newspaper reporters used to type with dashes on either side to signal the end of their stories to their editors. And no one's quite sure how it started, but 30 in journalism means the end. There's no more for me to report. More recently, and sadly, that dash 30 dash has appeared in bold font on the front page of newspapers publishing their final editions, again signaling the end, the passing of a chapter. I'm certainly sensing that number a lot lately, as I'm certain many of you are on this day. 30 years after I was last in a cap and gown, I have, as the Chancellor and the Dean mentioned, chosen to take a break from daily journalism and disrupt all of my routines again. My path, once again, looks uncertain. I'm meeting new people, and I'm acquiring new skills. And I have been learning from you. I have spent the last year trying to understand how you communicate, how you organize, and how you think. I've joined digital media startups. I've met remarkable pioneers and entrepreneurs who are accomplishing amazing things and have yet to turn 30. There's that number again. And as I have journeyed, I've come to believe that you are destined to be the most consequential generation in more than a century. Let me tell you why. My parents and my grandparents had greatness forced upon them by war. My generation and the one that followed were mostly builders of wealth and set the stage for innovation. But you seize greatness. You believe it is your right to change things. As a generation, you have been praised a lot in your formative years, and it has made you confident. You think nothing of challenging the hierarchies you encounter, and you have enormous faith in yourselves and in your unique abilities. I believe the way you were brought up, with collaborative and networking instincts, how you solve problems, communicate, and are productive, will profoundly reshape our world in one generation. I offer as proof of my thesis what you've already accomplished. As this class of 2011 was entering kindergarten, the desktop computer was entering your home. You took to it, liked to play games on it, and soon the board game industry was pushed aside. As you graduated from primary school, search engines were created to help you navigate knowledge, and publishing was pushed aside. As teenagers, you developed your own taste for music, and you refused to accept the restrictions on how television and movies were distributed. So, the entertainment industry was pushed aside. When you graduated high school, Facebook debuted, which changed socializing patterns, needless to say, and helped you connect with the lives of friends around the world. Well, now, your generation is old enough to become politically engaged, and even more powerful interests are feeling your pressure. It was your activism that elected a U.S. president with Kenyan roots. You also dropped the age of this new Canadian Parliament by 5 years and made Jack Layton leader of the opposition. But it is in the Middle East, I believe, where your impact has been most profound. It's incredible. All of those countries in various stages of open revolt or having successfully revolted, forcing tyrannical regimes and autocrats to bend to their wishes for more openness, reform, and freedom. What's really remarkable is how wrong so many of us were in our assumptions. Until 3 months ago, when all of this started in Tunisia, the common wisdom said if anyone were to topple these autocratic rulers, it would be Islamist regimes, young radicalized youth who believed in jihad, repression, and regression. But look who the revolutionaries turned out to be. Young people with more secular views than their parents, young men and women who desired more liberal, modern societies centered on human rights, freedom of expression, and opportunity. These revolutionaries are also members of the class of 2011, digitally adept and able to organize themselves under the nose of their rulers. While authorities in Egypt were busy arresting and beating journalists and blocking online news sites, members of your generation developed code words and spread information on Arabic dating sites. Hi, Jasmine, let's meet at the square at 2 became code for when and where the next demonstration of the Jasmine Revolution would take place. No one in authority imagined they needed to shut down a dating site. The revolution in the Middle East we've been spending billions trying to prevent from happening happened. And it unleashed societies which just wanted to be more like ours, not less. Networking Youth is still fighting for freedom and reform in Libya, Yemen, and Bahrain. They're bravely dying for it by the hundreds in Syria right now and struggling to be heard in Iran. And here is what is truly astonishing to me. No one person is leading these revolutions. There are no Václav Havels, Ayatollah Khomeinis, or Boris Yeltsins. There are no charismatic leaders for regimes to imprison to silence the calls for freedom. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere. Because you are the first generation with the ability and tools to organize organically. You are like flocks of birds who change shape and direction and act on instincts which are hard for some of us to understand or anticipate or contain. In the 1960s, the great American cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead famously observed, a small group of thoughtful and committed citizens could change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Well, 30 years after her death, you're proving her right. Only you are changing the world a lot faster than she could have imagined. And for those of you graduating with arts degrees or in graduate and postdoctoral studies, your role within your digital revolution is critical. You possess the unique ability to see context and patterns. You are the inheritors of reflection and expression. As the innovators continue to provide better tools to accelerate change, your creative skills, energy, and observations will be needed to help revolutions find their form. You will insist they stay true to their values and try to ensure the disruption your generation thrives on builds a better and more hopeful world. And that will be critically important because history teaches that creative chaos can sometimes lead to more dangerous outcomes than the one we all hope for. We are counting on you to assume the responsibility that artists and thinkers have always had in human societies, digital or not, of being the conscience of your time. So then, what hierarchy would you like to challenge next? You've proven they're vulnerable to authentic expressions of popular will. You always aim for the top. So I expect you will revolutionize many of our hierarchical institutions as your generation moves into middle management positions in your 30s. You're already revolutionizing the labor force. 4 out of the top 10 most desirable jobs in 2011 didn't exist in 2004. May I also respectfully hope that you use your special talents to tackle issues that my generation and its adherence to hierarchy seems paralyzed to make meaningful progress on. Reforming our healthcare system, reversing damage to our planet, and reining in greed. I hope someday, maybe even 30 years from now, some of you will be fortunate enough to receive an honor such as this, and I might even be alive to see how you earned it. But standing before you today, believing what I do about you, knowing you better, and appreciating who you are, I have no doubt a generation of profound consequence is being untethered at this 297th Convocation of our beloved Western and all over the world. Nothing will be the same after you encounter it. So in closing, just a second while I type a -30- on my iPad here. I'm told this is the first convocation address to be delivered on a tablet device. So in closing, I urge you, get out there. Go change the world some more. Thank you.